Okay, I spent a few minutes and I finished up the flap and drilled the 3 holes and plugged it in. Where we're at now today, this is day 16. Everything's done. All I got to do is build a cowl, and then all the woodwork is done. So what I'll be doing today is building a cowl and hollowing the top and bottom blocks. And when I come back tomorrow, we will put some dope on the wings, and then I'm going to show you the finishing process that I'm going to use on this. We're going to 2/10 carbon veil the whole airframe, I should say the wings. I'm going to use double-aught silk span on the fuselage. The reason for 2/10 veil on the wings is that the wings are 16th instead of 77 thousandths or 3/32. And I do want a nice finish on it. This will be covered with triple-aught or double-aught silk span instead of poly span, for the simple fact of weight. The wing came out 12.5 ounces complete, ready to go. That includes the flaps, tips, weight box, lead outs, adjustment. So that's a good weight. Fuselage, I don't have a weight on it yet because I don't have the top and bottom blocks hollowed out. So what I'm going to do in the next half hour is clean up this whole mess, start from scratch again, box all the wing jigs up, take them on back downstairs, and then we'll, start finishing the whole airplane. But 16 days is where we're at here. Not too bad. I mean, it is quite a bit of work. There's probably 100 hours work in those 16 days. And it takes about 200 to 300 hours to build one of these airplanes. So we're looking at it about a month. 16 days, 10-hour days is 160 hours. Less, yeah, there's probably 120 hours of work here so far. But this is where I'm at. People ask, how can I do it so fast? Well, I put in the time. And it's turning out rather nice. I hope you enjoy the videos. I don't know, I'm not a professional cameraman or anything like that. I'm just doing the best I can to show you how I do stuff. Part of the building process is the sanding process, and it's very hard for me to teach sanding on a video. I can just show you a few of the tricks, and if you'll notice, like I showed you the flaps, they came out absolutely perfect, and it didn't take but half an hour tops to build the flap if you sand them the way that I do. Of course, good light wood, that helps, and a straight bench. So I'm going to clean the mess up and hollow the blocks out on the top and bottom of the fuselage, and we'll start lining things up and getting the wing sorted out, ready to cover. So I'll see you in a few. Well, today we're starting off with a little bit different perspective, and I want to talk about the most important part of keeping a wing from folding. First off, it's tight joints, and second off, it's the compression spar. And what I've done is I've went to the hobby store and I bought 1/8" by 3 by 24 basswood. Now obviously we're not going to put a big piece of 24-inch piece of basswood in the wing. So I cut it to 1 inch wide by 4 bays long, actually 5 bays. And we're going to set it into the wing, cut it, and set it into the wing right up against the square stock, and we're going to epoxy that in. And this is what the bell crank mounts in. And you want these joints to be very tight, and this will keep your wing from folding up, along with putting on the silk span, starting on this side, going towards the end, starting on this side and going towards the other end, so you got double, triple layers in the center. I have never had a wing fold, break, crack, or anything. Never. Because of paying attention to the center section, not sanding the sheeting so thin. You don't want to sand this sheeting once it's on, like I told you in the previous video. Let's see here. I've cut the tips. I have one of the flaps shaped, the outboard flap shaped. I'm going to go ahead and glue in the spar and get the bell crank mounted today, and we're going to do the flaps as well. I was watching a windy video, and I'm going to give it a try. I've never done it before, but if it's good enough for windy, it would be good enough for me, and it looks like it'd be pretty light. Normally, I use wooden clips in the flaps to hold the horns. But instead, I'm going to cut it and insert an aluminum piece of tubing, and then CA it, and then put a little bit of fiberglass over the top of it. I think that's, I've seen Wendy's airplanes, and they're beautiful, so I think that's a good way to bury that particular joint, because no matter how well I do on burying that joint, unless I glass over it or whatever, that joint always comes back. I can always see that 5-6 years down the road. So I want to make this airplane last for the rest of my life, so I'm going to bury that aluminum tube in there, and I got that today at the hobby shop as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the camera. I'm going to trace this spar out on the bottom and cut and sand another one, and then we're going to drill a hole down through an 1/8-inch hole, and that's for the bell crank pivot. And I'll fish the bell crank lead outs through and epoxy this all together and get the push rods set up and ready to go. I'm going to mount the bell crank a little higher in the wing on this one. 2 reasons. One, to clear the landing gear mounts in the wing on the inboard side, and 2, for less of an angle on the push rod in an uphill attitude. I want to keep it more straight, so the bell crank will be raised up in this particular model. I don't have the pipe weight underneath the center of gravity, so I don't have to worry about that. We're going with the conventional method. I did get the plastic cement today, which is a Tester's cement, and I'm hoping that it holds the pilot's head on. It's not like the Revell glue of the 60s where it melted the plastic. I guess too many people were sniffing that stuff, and they took it off the market, because I asked them about it, and they didn't have it. So anything that works, they do away with it. So we're going to go ahead and get the bell crank mounted, and I'll be back. So I'll see you in a few. I'm going to switch the camera angle back to where it was. I wanted you to see the installation of this spar. Most important thing on the wing, this spar. Hey everybody, welcome back to Stunt Hangar. There's not going to be a day 14 video. Today is day 15. I have all the major components complete. What's left to do is cut out one more flap. I've used the TLAR method to get the flaps that I wanted, and to build 2 wingtips. And that's it. We can start assembling. The wing came out 9 ounces without the flaps, so we're looking at 9, 10, 11 ounces with both flaps, and the tips will probably be a ½ ounce each, so we're looking at a 12-ounce wing. It's respectable. For a wing this size, it's 700 square inches. I'm relatively happy with the weight of it. It does have the landing gear blocks in the wing. It is super straight. We will go ahead and I'm going to carbon veil the whole wing. I'm not sure whether I'm going to carbon veil the fuselage. I'll probably just use the double aught on it. I went ahead and finished painting my pilot. He looks really good. Let me see if we can zoom in here and we'll get a picture of what he looks like. I really like him. That's I learned how to paint pilots like this from the, I believe it's the Don Typod DVD that Bob Hunt sells. Well worth getting, and the guy's really a true artist. I'm not sure what the weights are yet on the fuselage because I'm still yet to hollow the top and bottom blocks. I know that we're going to take at least half the weight out of those 2 particular pieces. I'm about, I would say, another week out from putting it together. But 15 days, so a little over 2 weeks. We have all the major components done. And it's coming along real good. So I don't have a whole lot to say, and there's not really much to see. So we'll see you on day 16 maybe. And until then, tight lines. Now, welcome back, everybody. Today is day 16, I believe. And fuselage is done. The wing is all done. I didn't post anything on day 14 and 15. Most of it was in the detail work, doing the tips. I opted for solid block tips, and they take quite a bit of work to do. But today I'm going to show you how to mount the flaps. And I've cut one out to rough shape. This one is finished, and this one is just roughed in, and I'm going to show you how to sand that flap. You pick a nice piece of balsa wood with straight grain, and you trace that out, trace the flap perimeter out, and sand up to the line. We'll finish sanding the shape after I get the airfoil on it. And this is just how I do it. You can do it any way you like, but what I do is I take a pen using the finger method and draw a line down the center of the trailing edge of the flap. Now you can plane them, you can sand them with rods or what have you, but I like the shape of the airfoil flaps. Then after I get the first line on using the finger method, I come right next to it, about a 1/16 of an inch away on one side, and draw another line. You could outline it with tape or what have you, but I find that the pen works just as good. And what these are guidelines. so that we get a nice straight. And we're not going to take a whole lot of material off these 3/8 flaps. We're just going to airfoil them. Then so you're going to end up with 3 lines on the flap, one in the center, and then about a 1/16 of an inch away. And it doesn't have to be exactly perfect. Closer the better, that way you can sand up to it, because we're going to sand this by eye. Because I'm only sanding a 1/16 of an inch off, approximately, in the airfoil shape, we're not going to sand with 30 grit. We're going to sand with 80 grit to rough them in. And believe me, they don't take long to do. In my prior videos, I mentioned desire. And the desire is where it's at. So let's get a look at that. See if we can see that on the video. So we have 3 lines in the center here. And next we're going to show how I sand these. 80 grit sandpaper. Well, first off, let's do this. Let's knock down some of the time to cut these. We get the knife out with the long blade. And we're going to cut them back a little bit. You can use a block plane. And we're just taking small shavings off. This does take practice. It's not something that you're going to be able to jump in and do without doing a few of them. Don't take too much off, because we want enough meat there to airfoil, so we'll do the other side now. I use my fingers as a guide to just shave off some material. Anyway, what that does is save, I don't know, 10 minutes of sanding. 80 grit sandpaper. I'm going to sand it at an angle this way to get the taper started, and I'll show you how I get the airfoil in it. And this is all by eye. You want to put pressure on the sandpaper at the start and relieve the pressure in the center so that it's rolling towards the center. Yeah, that's basically one side roughed in. And when you look at my flaps up close, they're not flat, they are airfoiled. And then you just want to blend that airfoil shape towards the top. So we've sanded into one direction. Now we're going to turn the piece and sand in the other direction. Starting in the center, light pressure, and pushing down towards the edge. That's one side roughed in. That's all it takes. It's not a super hard deal. So let's go on and do the other side. And this is all a matter of tinkering. How do you want it to look? This is your airplane, right? No one can tell you, well, that's not airfoiled enough, or that's airfoiled too much. It's whatever makes you happy. sander of airplanes. I'm only doing this demonstration on the sanding because one of the guys on the forum said that he has no one to show him how to sand. Well, no builders in his area. After we get it close to our lines, we'll finish it off. And I'll just let this tape run. I know it's boring to watch me sand, but I want to show you how long it takes, because it doesn't take a week to sand a flat. You know, we're going to do this, and I would say this tape might run 15 minutes. Sight down it, make sure that you're keeping it straight. But I think the biggest part of flaps is wood selection. Do not select some wood that's got crazy grain in it, because it will warp. And if you don't have good wood, you want to use the grain to your advantage. Meaning, see which way the grain is going to pull that piece of wood and sand in that direction. Keep inspecting it, make sure you're keeping it straight. You don't want to sand a big whoop in it. About got this side done. Then we're going to do the the true airfoiling. Okay, that's pretty much roughed in. We have about a 3/16 trailing edge left on the flap there, and we're going to bring it down to 1/8 inch. But we have to do that a little differently. So basically we got the flap roughed in. Now we're going to finish off the airfoiling of it. You want to do that in a crosshatch way. 6/8, 10 strokes one direction. 6/8, 10 strokes the other direction. Remember, push on it hard to start and ease up on it in the center. Very nice. That's the other side, so they're pretty much airfoil there. A nice curve going here. Now we'll do the other side, same way. Nice 4, 5, 6 strokes, 10 strokes in one direction, then go the other direction. Keep an eye on the line in the trailing edge. Many ways to skin the cat. Like I say, you could use the rod method. They just don't look very, swoopy or streamlined to me. The rod method is very flat, very machine looking, and I like curve. The biggest thing is keep looking at it, because you could sand too much. You could sand a big hole in it quickly. Use a block and do not sand with your bare hands, because it'll sand valleys in it, grooves. Okay. We have this flap roughed in enough that we could mount it. This is all done with 80 grit. We'll come back with 220 on a block and get it closer. Takes about 3 sandings to make them really nice. Just go ahead and round that end off. Make it look good. Now we're sanding away our pen lines because we got it straight. Rounding off that edge. Mount the hinges here in a bit. Let me get the long T-bar, and we're going to round the leading edge of this flap. And this is relatively easy. You get your 30-inch T-bar, and we're going to put a rounded leading edge on this flap. This building stuff is not a mystery. It's just a matter of doing it. I've been doing it 50 years, and anybody can do this. It takes a little practice to learn how to sand, a little feel. When to stop, that's the most important part. we've, in this amount of time, we've roughed in this flap. Next we'll come back with some 220. Let's see what this flap weighs. It feels relatively light. I've heard people say they weigh an ounce, but boy, I certainly wouldn't like that. It weighs about 3/4 of an ounce, so that's a good weight on a flap. And that's basically it. We'll go ahead and get it mounted up, and I'll finish it off on the tip so that it blends real nicely into the tip. You want that to kind of swoop right around. You don't want to have a big gap or whatever. Let's look at the alignment of these flaps. Perfect. I used the windy clip method on this model. Never have done it before, and that's where you bury the aluminum tube in the flap. I usually use plywood clips, but after doing plywood clips for 30 years, I found that no matter how good I do them, when the model gets older, the dope sucks down into the plywood, and there's a spot where you can see that clip, and I just don't like it. So Wendy's models always did look good. I don't see any. Matter of fact, I see this is a lighter way to do things because it's aluminum tip instead of all that plywood. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the hinge pockets, and I'll come back when I get ready to install the hinges. And you'll see how easy that is to do as far as putting it on the wing. It's a matter of drilling 3 holes. Not a big deal. So we'll see you in a few minutes.